only, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or after Nirvana had ended. And so everything was kind of still fresh then. You know, nowadays everyone's like, oh yeah, it's Foo Fighters, whatever, you know. One last thing before I quit, I never want any more than I could fit into my head.
Foo Fighters, The Color and the Shape was recorded over a 2-month period in January and February of 1997 at Grandmaster Recorders in Hollywood, with the album going on to be released just a few months later in May of that year. Now, even though this is the Foo's second studio album, in a lot of ways it could be seen as the band's debut, as this is the first Foo Fighters record when you have a full band working together. As with the first Foo Fighters record, it was just Dave Grohl himself playing all the instruments. Dave enlisted Nate Mendel on bass, former Nirvana guitarist Pat Smear, and William Goldsmith on drums.
Hi, my name's Nate. I'm Pat.
I'm William.
Hi, I'm Dave.
However, when it came to the recording of The Color and the Shape, there was a problem that arose between drummer William Goldsmith and Dave Grohl. Basically, what had happened was in November and December of 1996, the band had gone into Bear Creek Studios to begin the first recording sessions for the album. However, the sessions at Bear Creek were described by Dave Grohl as a bad experience, and almost everything they had recorded there was scrapped. In January and February of '97, the band went back to recording the album. But this time it was at Grandmaster Recorders in Hollywood, and it was without drummer William Goldsmith. Goldsmith had drummed on some of the album songs in those first recording sessions. However, Grohl decided that his drumming was not up to par. At least not in the recording studio anyways. As a live drummer, he was fine for the band, but in the recording studio, it was a whole different story. Grohl stated that Goldsmith's drumming had good moments, but his performances mostly did not fit what Grohl had wanted for the drum track. So, Dave Grohl decided to re-record all of the drums himself. And it is Dave Grohl who drums on The Color and the Shape on all but 2 tracks. And that is on the opening song Doll and Up in Arms, where they kept Goldsmith's drumming. So understandably, Goldsmith was pretty pissed when he found that Dave had re-recorded over all of his drums. And it is said that Grohl never actually fired Goldsmith. He actually wanted him to stay on as a live drummer, but Goldsmith decided to leave the band at that point. And this is where we get the introduction of new drummer, none other than Taylor Hawkins.
And it was like, well, wait a second.
I had just joined, too. So.
Yeah, Taylor had just gotten in the band, so Taylor was like, is it me?
I thought it was me. I was like, okay, I'll go.
Hawkins, who sadly passed away in March of 2022, joined the Foo Fighters in April of 1997. So that was just a couple of months after William Goldsmith had left the band, and also just a couple of months after the album had been completed. So Taylor does not actually play a single drum beat on The Color and the Shape. However, you do see him in the music videos for Monkey Wrench, Everlong, and My Hero, although he did not actually play on those tracks. But he kind of made a late appearance on The Color and the Shape, as it is on the 10th anniversary special edition of the album. You have 6 bonus tracks, which are B-sides, and Taylor drums on 3 of those songs: Requiem, Drive Me Wild, and Baker Street. And interestingly enough, on that 10th anniversary edition of the album, you have a song titled The Color and the Shape. A song that with that title you think would make the album, right? But it obviously didn't make the album. Now, remember how we talked about those initial recordings for the album? That was back at Bear Creek Studios in November and December of '96. Well, this is where that song, The Color and the Shape, was recorded. And remembering how we said those sessions didn't go too well, and nothing from those sessions were really kept and went on to make the final cut, and this was just one of those songs. But if you ever get a chance to listen to it, definitely check it out. It's pretty hard and heavy, and it's a pretty cool song.
I don't know if there's less pressure. I think maybe there's not so much, the spotlight's not on me and the band so much as it was when the first record came out. I mean, that was only, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or after Nirvana had ended, and so everything was kind of still fresh then. You know, nowadays everyone's like, oh yeah, it's Foo Fighters, whatever, you know.
Grohl chose producer Gil Norton to work on The Color and the Shape. He wanted Norton to provide an additional pop polish to the material, something that he was known for as a producer. And Grohl especially wanted to hear the guitar overdubs and harmonies with significant clarity. Norton was highly demanding of the band's performance in the sessions, prompting bassist Nate Mendel to practice and improve his musical skill. Grohl said, "It was frustrating and it was hard and it was long, but at the end of the day you listened back to what you had done and you understood why you had to do it 1 million times."
You know, that was the first album we made as a band. The first record was just a demo tape that I had made by myself. So that was the first time we went to the studio together, and we went in with a producer that was famous for being like a real taskmaster. So we went from kind of making records in our more laid back kind of punk rock way to going in and experiencing for the first time an actual rock producer that makes you do take after take after take after take after take,
bar by bar, sometimes depending on your skill.
Yeah. So it was, I think that after that, we learned that having experienced that, we learned to appreciate the opposite side of how to make a record, the other way to make a record. But I mean, you know, it was a tough time for a lot of us making that album, and we made it through.
The Color and the Shape is 13 tracks where you have your up-tempo songs mixed in with ballads, all combined to create one uniform listening experience from start to finish. You have your big hits on there such as Monkey Wrench and Everlong, but then the album delves into more mellow moments too with songs like February Stars and Walking After You. 3 singles were released from The Color and the Shape: Monkey Wrench, Everlong, and My Hero, with all 3 singles peaking within the top 10 of US rock radio charts. The album itself charted at number 10 on the Billboard 200 and to date has sold more than 2 million copies in the US, making it the Foo Fighters' best-selling album in the United States.
The lyrics for the album were written maybe like a month and a half or 2 months before going into record, which was just after we'd had a little bit of time off and enough time to step back and sort of realize what had happened in the past year and a half. So, in that sense, you know, not the story of my life, of course, because then it'd have to be a double album.
The album's content was inspired by Dave Grohl's divorce from photographer Jennifer Youngblood, which occurred in 1996. Hence, you get far more personal lyrics on this record than you did on the Foo's debut. Looking at some of the tracks a bit more in depth on The Color and the Shape, the album's opener, Doll, involves the fear of entering into situations unprepared. For Monkey Wrench, Grohl stated, "That is a song about realizing that you are the source of all the problems in a relationship and you love the other person so much, you want to free them of the problem, which is actually yourself." Grohl described Up in Arms as a typical love song. And then we come to My Hero, a song that everybody thought was exclusively about Kurt Cobain. Grohl said, "There are definitely elements of Kurt in that song, but it's more just about your everyday heroes, ordinary people." The song Enough Space is based on the movie Arizona Dream, which was one of Grohl's favorite movies. And the song Walking After You is, quote, an emotional, sappy song about getting dumped. After settling on the final track sequence for the album, Grohl was struck by just how the album's flow from start to finish resembled a therapy session. He even considered placing a therapist's couch on the album cover. As for the album title, that came from the band's tour manager. He would often spend his afternoons going through thrift stores, and on one occasion he purchased a bowling pin with red and white stripes, stating to the band how he liked the color and the shape of the object. And they also went with the British spelling of color in the album's title, adding the U to color, and that was a tribute to producer Gil Norton, who is British. And another fun fact we've got for you is, you may wonder, who is this guy on the My Hero music video playing guitar for the band? You've got Pat Smear on the music videos for Monkey Wrench and Everlong, right? So who's this guy in the My Hero video taking his place? Well, that is Franz Stahl.
Hello! Last song we played was my last song with the band. I would like to introduce you to Franz Stahl, who will be taking over. Thank you. Rock on, guys! Foo Fighters!
You see, he replaced Pat Smear when Smear left the band in September of '97, just several months after The Color and the Shape was recorded. And with the My Hero music video being recorded after Smear's departure, hence you have the inclusion of new guitarist Franz Stahl in that video. But there's one more bit of tidbit information to add to this. You see, Dave Grohl and Franz Stahl had previously been in a band together, and that was Grohl's band Scream. Franz Stahl had been the guitarist in that band too. And Scream was the band that Grohl was in before he joined Nirvana. So Grohl needed a guitarist, so he called up his old bandmate from Scream. And Franz Stahl would only stay in the band for about a year, and that is where you get the introduction of Chris Shiflett, and he has been in the band ever since. So, The Color and the Shape, wow. What you got here is a really awesome Foo Fighters album. Personally, it's my top album from the band. It's my favorite one. A lot of their earlier work, in my opinion, is some of the best stuff they ever did. Not to say they haven't produced some very good material later on in their career either, because they have good songs right throughout the span of the band. But this one for me came out all the way back in 1997. Really, it was like the debut as far as the Foo Fighters being like a proper band. Even though Dave did end up playing the drums on this album, you know, they had Nate Mendel, Pat Smear, and they were like a proper band. Dave went for a much more advanced sound than that first record that he just put out by himself. You know, he wanted more overdubs, harmonies, stuff like that. And really, he got what he wanted. This one is produced very well, sounds very good. God, I remember when Monkey Wrench first came out. Just such a kick-ass song. That thing was just so awesome. This album's got Everlong on there. That's like the band's most well-known song, their biggest hit. What the Foo Fighters are known for, if you will, and that comes from this album. Amazing songs, too, with the likes of February Stars, Walking After You, check those out. Really cool song to end the album, New Way Home, that like breaks off into two parts, totally epic at the end. And the album just really does have a great flow to it from start to finish. Really cool idea to start off with that wee short song at the start, you know, Doll. You just kind of quietly start off the album and then bang, Monkey Wrench just hits you. Just totally perfect dynamic there. I'm not saying it's like a perfect album or anything. There's a couple of moments on there that maybe aren't as strong as others, but yeah, for the most part, this album's got it all. Very awesome Foo Fighters album, did very well for them commercially, their best-selling album. Very cool. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll catch you on the next one.